اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه شيء من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن يكلأه، باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان خيرا
Mic test, mic test, mic test.
سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم والأعمال مطلوب. واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمن، به المناكير شاعت والمعايب. فكن وحيدا فريدا خاملا حذرا، فإن فيه الأقاويل الأكاذيب. والظلم فاش بلا لوم ولا نكر، وللمساكين تخويف وترهيب. فكن لبيتك حلسا لا تفارقه، إلا لشيء له في الشرع تصويب. واذكر إلهك ذكرا دائما أبدا، فالذكر بالذكر مقرون ومصحوب. وذاكر الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue with our lesson in the Adab Suluk al-Murid of Imam al-Haddad and Muqaddimah Hadramiyah. And we pray that Allah bless this session, make it a reason where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered, inshallah ta'ala. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Today I'm feeling a bit unwell, but inshallah I will try my best to explain. Hopefully inshallah it becomes a reason of shifa by the barakah of gatherings of knowledge, inshallah ta'ala. So in the Adab in Suluk al-Murid of Al-Imam al-Haddad, we have come into chapter 19, where the author speaks about the importance of keeping any good company. There are many hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that speaks about the importance of having good company. We have the famous hadith, al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi, yani a person, the religion yani of a person, and is based on the religion yani of his friend or his close friend. Basically, the Prophet ﷺ is saying that human beings we are influenced by the people around us. So when we put ourselves in a situation where we mix with bad people, then those bad characteristics will be prevalent in us after some time. Likewise, when we put ourselves in the company of good people, inshallah the good characteristics will be prevalent in us after a period of time. So the fact that human beings they are influenced by the environment, we are influenced by the people around us. So that is why in Islam it is very important that we make sure that we are always in the company of the good. Here Imam al-Haddad speaks about the importance of having not only people who are good in their characteristic, but it is also important for us to have a guide, a person who is able to guide spiritually, able to guide in terms of what is halal and what is haram, that we are able to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and emulate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and see in front of us an example of that. So he mentioned audio seeker. Again, we find in the book of Adab Suluk al-Murid, always he address the seeker. So this particular book, Adab Suluk al-Murid, that's what we mentioned many a times last time, that Al-Imam al-Haddad is referring or is speaking to a person who is a seeker, a salik. So the meaning of a salik is a person who has the conviction that his purpose in life is to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah is the maqsood, that then only this person is a seeker. He is clear that the purpose and the ultimate purpose of his life is to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the meaning of as-salik. So Al-Imam al-Haddad is addressing this category. So he mentioned audio seeker, you must take the greatest care in keeping the company of the best of people. As what we mentioned, because human beings, we are influenced by the people by the people around us, and attend the gatherings of the pious. It is important for us to put ourselves in good gatherings of knowledge, gatherings of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because not only we are influenced by the people around us, we are also influenced by the environment, and putting ourselves in a good environment will make us be influenced by the good things that are present in that environment. So this is the advice of Imam al-Haddad, put yourself with the best in your people who are pious, people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people who remind you about death, people who remind you about iman and amal, and put yourself in the gatherings of the good, the gatherings of knowledge, and gatherings of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he mentioned, then search with utmost concern for a good guide or teacher, a pious righteous man, a man of guidance and good advice. Then Imam al-Haddad speaks about the importance of having someone as a guide that is able to point to us the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is able to advise us what are the things that we are required for our provisions in that particular journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here Imam al-Haddad speaks about some of the characteristics of this teacher. So firstly he mentioned a man of guidance. This particular person is a person of guidance, in the sense that he is guided that he is guided in terms of his belief, in terms of his knowledge, in terms of his deeds, in terms of his thoughts, in terms of his character. So this is a man of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person who remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person who possesses good akhlaq, a person who emulates the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a person who is learned in the Quran, a person who is learned in the sunnah. So we say this a person who is guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, zahir and batin, yani in the outward knowledge and likewise in the inward knowledge. And a person of good advice, yani a person who showed good examples to people, a person who gave good advice to people and to da'wah, to the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has knowledge of the sharia. This is important, that this particular person is a person who is learned in the laws of the sharia. So laws of the sharia refers to the knowledge of fiqh, the knowledge of usulul fiqh, for example, that he understand how to perform a particular ibadah, what are the things that is haram, what are the things that is permissible, what is the thing that is makruh. So he is able to give the proper advice, that he is able to guide a person who is jahil. Then he mentioned he has traveled the path to Allah. The meaning here is basically he is a person not only possess knowledge, but he practice that knowledge. He is a person who practice that knowledge. So the meaning of tariqah is to practice the sharia. So when we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we obey the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we emulate our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so we are taking a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by having faith in Allah, and by having by obeying the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inwardly and outwardly. So this particular person is not a person who is knowledgeable, but a person who put his knowledge into practice. Al-ilm wal-amal. A man who has tasted and know the truth, and he was tasted this, we say the haqiqah here, or we say the knowledge of al-ihsan, where our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned al-ihsan an ta'budallah ka'annaka tarahu, a person who has reached the level of muraqabah, that is in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he has reached the level of conviction, the level of yaqeen, the level of mushahada. That's what our scholars mentioned, that he able to witness Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having a certainty, having yaqeen in the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having a high level of faith and iman. A man who has perfection of mind and vastness of breast, a person who possesses wisdom, the knowledge. That's what our Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, wattaqullah wa yu'allimukumullah. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have taqwa into Allah, and Allah will teach you from the knowledge that you do not know. So there are certain knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless a person when a person has taqwa to Allah, when a person observe the sharia, when a person obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when a person possess a good character, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless him with knowledge that he does not know. So our ulama mentioned this is knowledge that is ladunni, min ladunna ilma. It's what Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, that Allah gave Nabi Khalid alayhi salam knowledge that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we Muslims we must believe, because it's mentioned in the Quran. This is not something that is mentioned by fulan or by fulan, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically explained in the Quran, and there are certain knowledge that Allah bless some of his servants. So our scholars mentioned there are knowledge that you can attain from books and by learning, and there are knowledge that you attain direct from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But of course this is not revelation, but this is in the form of inspiration. This is in the form of inspiration. So the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are always in a state where they receive inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, ittaqu firasat al-mu'min fa innahu yanzuru bi nurillah. Fear the firasah of the mu'min, fear the sight of the believer, because he sees by the light of Allah, that Allah bless people with certain sight, that Allah bless people with certain knowledge, that he is able to see what others do not see. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with this maqam, this station, this level yani of ihsan, this level yani of spirituality. As what our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam yani mentioned yani in the famous hadith of Jibril. So he mentioned wisdom in management, knowledge any of the ranks and status any of mankind. And then he mentioned and the ability to discriminate between what is in them due to their instinct, innate inequality, status and states. That is a kind of person who is able to look at the shortcomings and look at the strength of people and able to give the proper advice, so that people can rectify themselves. So this is a knowledge and this is a skill that people possess in order to guide others spiritually. And how do we guide spiritually? By being able to look at the weakness and how to improvise on those weaknesses that are present in the hearts of people. So here Imam al-Haddad and he's speaking about this particular or this category of people who are obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are always in the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who are able to guide others to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says that if you find one, then you should always keep the company of this person, because being in the company of these people, and we will also be influenced by the goodness, be influenced by their station, be influenced by their spirituality. And this is important for our spirituality, because we are in need to always be in the company of the good, as what we mentioned, and to be in the company of a person who is able to guide us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the bonus, and that is something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiq and hidayah. And although people of such nature are difficult for us to find today, but they are still around. The bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are plenty, and there are people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them with such ranks and with such stations. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to the right path. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So now inshallah we will enter into our next book. Last week in our last lesson we have entered into the chapter of Sujud Sahwi, and then I realized that there are certain things that I skip. And before Sujud Sahwi on the issue of sutra. But what I will do, I will just continue Sujud Sahwi. Otherwise it will be like hanging. After finish Sujud Sahwi, inshallah I will return back into the chapter of sutra. We will speak about chapter of sutra, and it's just maybe one paragraph. It's not really much. But now we will continue from where we stop. So basically in our last lesson, we were at the point where the author speaks about tashahud awwal. So one of the things which is a sunnah for us to do the Sujud Sahwi, if we do not do the sunnah ab'ad. So we mentioned sunnah ab'ad. One of sunnah ab'ad is tashahud awwal, the first tashahud. The first tashahud is considered to be sunnah ab'ad. So if a person does not do tashahud awwal, whether he does it intentionally or he forget to perform tashahud awwal, it is a sunnah for him to do Sujud Sahwi. So this one the author mentioned, walau nasiya tashahud al-awwala fadhakarahu ba'da intisabihi lam ya'ud ilayh. If a person remembers that he does not do tashahud awwal, and then he remembers ba'da intisab here meaning he has reached qiyam, he has stood up to the third rak'ah, lam ya'ud ilayh, it is not permissible for him to return to tashahud awwal. What is the reason? The reason is that he has done the wajib. So when we have done the wajib, you cannot return to sunnah. What is wajib? Wajib is qiyam. Qiyam is wajib. So once any you have done in your qiyam, you cannot return to tashahud. Because why? Tashahud is sunnah. So if you do it any intentionally, this is what the author is saying. فَإِنْ عَادَ عَالِمًا بِتَحْرِيمِهِ عَامِدًا بَطَلَتْ صَلَاتُهُ. If he returns any to tashahud awal intentionally, knowingly, batalat salatuhu. Yani the prayer yani becomes batil. The prayer yani becomes invalid. So I think there is no issue. But if he said aw nasiyan, but he forgets, if he forgets, for example, aw jahilan, he is ignorant, fala, yani the prayer will not be invalidated. Yani excuse. If a person and he forgot, and sometimes and we forgot. Sometimes and you the imam and you panic. You go up and to the third raka'ah, the ma'mum says subhanallah. So you become any panic and you do not know what to do. Yani you go back and to tashahud awwal. Because why? And you forgot. So it does not make any the prayer invalid, and you have to stand up again to perform the qiyam. Wa yasjudu lis-sahwi. So he said that it is a sunnah yani to do Sujud Sahwi, because you have omit sunnat ab'ad. Wa yajibul audu li mutaba'ati imamihi. Wa yajibul aud ani li mutaba'ati imam. This is the thing any about mutaba'atul imam. We have any principle any in prayer that following any the imam is wajib. Following any the imam is wajib. So for example, any if the imam returns, if the imam any returns any to tashahud awwal before yani he does any the qiyam, now it becomes wajib any for the ma'mum to return to follow the imam. It is wajib any for the imam, for the ma'mum to return and to follow any the imam, because following any imam for the ma'mum is wajib, not sunnah. Following any the imam yani is wajib. So he said wa yajibul audu li mutaba'ati imamihi. So if the imam any for example and he does not do sujud sahwi, and then he returns and he does not do tashahud awwal, and then he returns and to tashahud awwal, now the ma'mum wajib any upon the ma'mum to return to tashahud awwal. He cannot any wait any for the imam in standing. He has any to return to tashahud awwal, although tashahud awwal and yes what we mentioned is sunnah. But because any the imam any returns any to tashahud awwal, it is wajib any for him to return to tashahud awwal. Wa in tadhakkara tarka tashahudil awwali qabla intisabihi ada. So before any he does the intisab, yani because before any he does any the qiyam, he remembers that he does not do the tashahud awwal. So no problem, yani he can return to tashahud awwal. Walau tarakahu amidan fa'ada ilayhi batalat. I think all this and I've mentioned any in the last lesson. Wallahu alam. Walau tarakahu amidan, if a person purposely doesn't want to do the tashahud awwal, and then after that yani he wanted to return to tashahud awwal purposely, batalat, yani the prayer becomes any invalidated. The prayer yani becomes invalidated in kana ila al-qiyam aqrab, if he is near to qiyam. But if it is near yani to sitting, then it does not become invalidated. But if it is near any to qiyam and he cannot return back to tashahud awwal, this is any in the case if he purposely does not want any to perform the tashahud awwal. Walau nasi al qunut. Now any the author is going any to speak any about al qunut and qunut and fajr. If a person that forgets any to perform dua qunut, fadhakarahu ba'da wad'i jabhatihi, and then when he places any the forehead any on the ground, meaning he does any the sujud, and then he remembers any that he does not perform any dua qunut any earlier, lam yarji' ilayh. Now this is any the same concept, that he cannot return to qunut. Why any he cannot return any to qunut? Because he has performed the sujud, and sujud any is wajib, and once any you perform any wajib and you cannot return to the sunnah, because any dua qunut any is sunnah, just like tashahud awwal, sunnah aba'an. Aw qablahu, if he remembers that he does not perform any dua qunut before sujud, before any he puts any the forehead on the ground, ada, it's permissible for him any to return to recite dua qunut. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. Imagine a person, for example, and he forgets to read qunut, and then before he does the sujood, he remembers that he has not performed dua qunut. Can he return to dua qunut? Yes, he can return to dua qunut, because why? He has not performed the sujood yet. No problem. He return ada. This is what the author is saying. Ada wa sajada lisahwi in balagha hadda raki'. If he returns to dua qunut, now how do we know that whether Sujud Sahwi is sunnah for him or not sunnah for him? This is where the author mentioned the condition. He said in balagha hadda raki', yani if the person reach the level of ruku', if the person reach the level of ruku' and above, then it is a sunnah for him to do Sujud Sahwi. But if he has not reached the level of ruku', and he remembers and he do qunut and he goes back, then he cannot do Sujud Sahwi. It is not any sunnah for him to do Sujud Sahwi. So I hope it is clear, inshallah ta'ala. So this is the same concept as a person who does not perform tashahud awwal. If a person does not perform tashahud awwal, also we mentioned, if it is ilal qiyami akrab, then he does Sujud Sahwi. But if it is near to sitting down, he does not do Sujud Sahwi. So it depends on where he is when he remembers that he omit tashahud awwal or dua qunut. And then he mentioned asalis. Now we will go on to speak about the third reason where it is a sunnah to do Sujud Sahwi. So the first thing we spoke about, last lesson we spoke about one of the reasons is if a person does something, if he does it intentionally, it will make the prayer becomes invalid. So if he does it unintentionally, then it's sunnah for him to do Sujud Sahwi. And then we speak about sunnah aba'an, that when a person does not perform any sunnah aba'an, it is a sunnah for him to do Sujud Sahwi. We also speak about if a person does regularly not at this place, it is a sunnah for him to do Sujud Sahwi. Now we will enter into the third condition. So the author mentioned as-salisu iqa'u ruknin fi'liyin ma'at taraddudi fi. Yani a person does a rukun fi'li and he has doubt, shak. Yani he has any doubt. So he will give an example, inshallah. Anybody's examples, this sentence will become clear. So he said, falau shakka fi ruku', yani a person has doubt in his ruku', aw sujud, aw rak'atin ata bihi wa sajada lis-sahwi. Now the situation is like this. Imagine you are praying, and then you go up to the second rak'ah, and then you have doubt. You ask yourself, did I do ruku' in the first rak'ah? As though I did not do my ruku' in the first rak'ah. As though I have not performed my ruku' in the first rak'ah. So now, if a person is in qiyam, second rak'ah, and he has doubt that he has not done the ruku' in the first rak'ah, so in this situation, he has to go back to the first rak'ah and do his ruku'. He has to go back into the first rak'ah and do his ruku', because he has not reached the same rukun of the following rak'ah, because he's still in qiyam. If he's in sujud and he has doubt that he has not done the ruku' in the first rak'ah, then khalas, first rak'ah is not valid. Then he has to pay another rak'ah. But now if he remembers, or he has doubt, for example, that he has not done the ruku', then he has to return to the ruku' of the first rak'ah if he is in the qiyam in the second rak'ah. So there is a principle that is very important in fiqh. We have the principle al-yaqinu la yuzalu bi-shak. Al-yaqinu la yuzalu bi-shak, meaning certainty will not be overpowered by doubt. So if you have doubt, if you have doubt, then it has no ruling. So as though you do not do. As though you do not do. Meaning, if you have doubt whether you have done any your ruku or you have not done the ruku, the ruling any in fiqh is that you have not done. Because we go back into the asl. Al-asl al-adam. Al-asl al-adam. This is also any one of the principles in fiqh. Al-aslu al-adam. Yani, the original ruling is there is none. There is none. Meaning, if a person and he has doubt whether he has done his ruku or he has not done the ruku, al-asl al-adam, meaning he has not done his ruku. Tamam. Just like any, for example, if you are in doubt whether you have wudu or no wudu, so what is the ruling now? If you are in doubt if you are in doubt any whether you have wudu or no wudu, can you take it any as though you have wudu? Cannot. Because al-asl that you have not taken wudu. Unless any if you are convinced any that you have taken wudu, then the origin is that you have wudu. But now any if you are in doubt any whether you do not know any whether you have taken wudu or you have not taken wudu, then al-asl al-adam, that you do not have wudu. You do not have wudu. So likewise, if a person has doubt whether I have done ruku or no ruku, al-asl al-adam, yani the origin is that I have not done ruku. A person has doubt whether he has done sujud or not, has not done sujud. So the origin is what? The origin he has not done his sujud. This is also the meaning of al-istishab in usul. We have what is called as al-istishab, and we always go back to al-asl. So now the author is saying, فَلَوْ شَكَّ فِي رُكُوءٍ أَوْ سُجُودٍ أَوْ رَكَعَةٍ. Yani a person has doubt whether he has done ruku or no ruku, whether he has done sujud or no sujud, whether he has done the raka'ah or no raka'ah. Sometimes when we pray, for example, we do not know whether we are in the third raka'ah or fourth raka'ah. Correct or not? Sometimes when we pray Zohar prayers, and for example, our mind is occupied, we have doubt. Where am I now? Which any raka'ah? So if you are convinced and you have prayed any two raka'ah, so now is the third one. So you cannot say this is the fourth one. You always go back to the lesser, because of certainty. So there is no room for doubt in prayer. So he said atabihi, and if you have doubt in ruku, you have to do the ruku. If you have doubt in sujud, you have to do the sujud. If you have doubt in the raka'ah, you have to pray the extra raka'ah. Because al-asl al-adam, because the original ruling is you have not done. That's why you have to do it. And then it depends whether you have reached the same rukun or you have not reached the same rukun. So earlier I gave the example, if a person is in the first raka'ah and then he goes up to the second raka'ah in qiyam, and then he has doubt whether did I do my ruku in the first raka'ah or not. So now I have to go back into ruku. I have to straight away do my ruku, and then I have to do my sujud again. Tamam? But if I remember or I've doubt after ruku, meaning in sujud for example, now I've reached the rukun of ruku and above of the following raka'ah. So now I cannot return to the first raka'ah. I cannot return to the first raka'ah. So if I am in the second raka'ah in ruku and I remember that first raka'ah I did not do my ruku, then what you call it, this is considered to be what you call it, the ruku for the first raka'ah. Because why? The first raka'ah now is invalid. So my second raka'ah now becomes the first raka'ah. So then the author mentioned was sajada li sahwi. So if that happens and I have rectified the prayer, meaning I've performed the ruku, I performed the sujud, I return back to the ruku, I return back to the sujud, or I omit the first raka'ah. Yani if I have reached, for example, the third raka'ah and I remember first raka'ah I didn't do ruku, for example, so the first raka'ah is now it becomes narun. Yani it is not considered to be valid now. So I have to add one more raka'ah. I have to add one more raka'ah. And was sajada li sahwi. Now it is a sunnah for me to do sujud sahwi. Because why? I have doubt and I have rectified my doubt, and it is a sunnah for me to Sujud Sahwi. Why any Sujud Sahwi? Because there is a possibility that actually I have done my ruku. Because this doubt, and there is a possibility and I have done. So there is a possibility I have done more than one ruku. I have done an extra any ruku. And there is also a possibility that I'm right. Yani I omit any that ruku. So there is a shortcoming in prayer. There's a shortcoming in prayer. So Sujud Sahwi, it is the Jabril Khalal. Yani it is to rectify. It is to compensate the shortcoming in it that I perform in prayer. طيب, and then the author mentioned وَإِنْ زَالَ الشَّكُّ قَبْلَ السَّلَامِ إِلَّا إِذَا زَالَ الشَّكُّ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ بِمَا يَحْتَمِلُ زِيَادَةً. Inshallah, we will speak about this in the next session. This requires some explanation any time of Isha. I think it's going to come. So yeah, I for those I think for those who are following, I think you will have any questions. And this thing about Sujud Sahwi in reality is quite tough to understand certain usually, but I hope these explanations are clear, inshallah ta'ala, and we will continue inshallah next week. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us inshallah with tawfiq. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.